List definitions. Start with existent. Oh. Start with existent. That which is observed by valid cognition. And then synonyms with existent. Established base, observable, knowable object, ascertainable object, object, phenomena. What's the definition of object? That which what are the divisions of established base? Functional and non-functional. What's the definition of functional thing? What is the... How many phenomena are there in the text mutually inclusive with functional thing? 3. What are they? Impermanent, produced, then impermanent. No, in the text there's these 3, then we've added 2, right? What are the 2 that we've added? Cause and effect. What's the definition of conditioned phenomena? What's the definition of produced? What's the definition of cause? And effect? What are the divisions of cause? In time, according to time? Direct and indirect. Yeah? And according to the way they produce our effect? Substantial cause, cooperative condition. What's the definition of substantial cause? Within continuum, right? Primary producer of substantial effect within its own substantial continuum. Cooperative condition? Outside of its own cooperative condition. Continuum, substantial continuum. What is the definition of direct cause? What does directly produce mean? Without any intervening moment, exactly. What's the definition of indirect cause? What are the 3 phenomena that are, the 4 contradictory phenomena with functional thing? Non-thing, unproduced, permanent and unconditioned. What's the definition of permanent phenomena? That which is both phenomena and not momentary. What's the definition of unproduced? Unproduced. That which is not a reason. Take unproduced and permanent. It follows they have 3 possibilities for inclusive, exclusive. What are they? If it is unproduced, it follows it is necessarily not permanent. For example, if it is unproduced, it follows it is necessarily not permanent. For example, why only... It's Monday, now you have to get back into it. No Monday blues. Monday blues are allowed till 9:15. You have 5 more minutes. Then we 10:50. What is there something? What happened?
We don't have too many examples of...
Give me one. Oh, I'm okay with 1. Actually, you have a lot. You have uncompounded phenomena, you have definition, you have definiendum, you have one with pot, you have all those things. You can say definition of impermanent, you can say definiendum of momentary, right?
Is ultimate truth permanent?
Sure. Okay? Okay, so is there something that's both permanent and unproduced? Definition, right? If it is permanent, it follows it is necessarily unproduced. If it is unproduced, it follows it is necessarily permanent. If it is not permanent, it follows it is necessarily unproduced. For example, pot. Except, take horns of a rabbit, it follows they are permanent. Take horns of a rabbit, it follows they are permanent because they are unproduced. Take horns of a rabbit, it follows their reason is established. Take horns of a rabbit, it follows they are not unproduced. Except, take horns of a rabbit, it follows they're produced. Take produced and unproduced, it follows they're directly contradictory. It follows produced and unproduced fulfill the meaning of directly contradictory. Except, what is the meaning of directly contradictory? Abiding inharmoniously in a manner where the establishment of one directly excludes the other. Yeah, but within that, then there is directly contradictory, right? So when you use the word directly contradictory, you generally go with that. Anyway, it's fine. Take that, it follows the directly contradictory as mutually exclusive, produced and unproduced. Except? Good. Take produced and unproduced, it follows the directly contradictory. It follows that they abide inharmoniously in a manner which the establishment of one directly opposes the other, excludes the other. Take horns of a rabbit, it follows that produced is negated on it. Don't you speak English? What do you mean you haven't done negation? Take the horns of a rabbit, it follows a valid cognizer cannot realize that they are produced. It follows a valid cognizer can realize that the horns of a rabbit are not produced. It follows they are not produced. It follows they are permanent because they are unproduced.
Why are they unproduced? I don't know.
Good, I'm glad you do, but I'm debating with you. It follows they are unproduced because them being produced is refuted by a valid cognizer. That's what I'm doing. Is negated by a valid cognizer.
I can't do anything with that.
You can suffer a little bit. That's what you can do. Take the horns of a rabbit. It follows a valid cognizer, negates them to be produced. Yes. It follows that produced and unproduced are directly contradictory. It follows that if one is established, the other one is directly negated. Right? It follows when produced is negated, unproduced is established. Take horns of a rabbit. It follows unproduced is established on them because produced is negated on them. This is the dipping your toes in the ocean of product. Negative phenomena and positive phenomena. Come on. It follows produced is not negated on horns of a rabbit. It follows produced is established on horns of a rabbit. It follows produced is not established on horns of a rabbit. It follows produced doesn't exist on horns of a rabbit. It follows produced is a non-existent on horns of a rabbit. It follows produced is an object that is negated by a valid cognizer on horns of a rabbit. It follows that unproduced is established on horns of a rabbit by a valid cognizer. Except it follows they are unproduced. Because they're established to be unproduced by a valid cognizer. It follows they're not established to be unproduced by a valid cognizer. It follows they're negated to be produced by a valid cognizer. Negated to be produced. It follows they're not negated to be produced by a valid cognizer. It follows they are not negated to be produced. It follows they are produced. It follows they are not produced. It follows that not being produced is inexistent.
They are not.
Take the horns of a rabbit not being produced. It follows it is inexistent.
Why?
Yeah, take the horns of a rabbit not being produced. It follows it is not inexistent. It follows you can't realize that the horns of a rabbit are not produced. Except, can you realize that the horns of a rabbit are not produced? You can't realize. You can't realize that the horns of a rabbit are not. You can't realize that the horns of a rabbit don't exist. Can you realize that the horns of a rabbit don't exist? Can you realize that they're not produced? Go on. It follows what? No, generic image is a very nice answer. Now you give the answer for this. Take horns of a rabbit. It follows they're negated to be produced. Take horns of a rabbit. They're produced.
They are produced.
It follows they exist.
No, they're not existing.
It follows they exist because they're produced. Venerable sees horns of a rabbit. Okay. It follows horns of a rabbit. It follows they don't exist. Take produced, it follows it is an instance of existent. It follows by the power of, it follows that if existent were not to exist, it would necessarily entail that produced doesn't exist. Take the horns of a rabbit, it follows produced doesn't exist on them. So it follows that they're realized to be not produced. Can you know that they're not produced, the horns of a rabbit? Take a valid cognizer, it follows it refutes produced on horns of a rabbit. It follows it established. Take that valid cognizer that negates produced on horns of a rabbit. It follows it has to implicitly know that they are unproduced. Because produced and unproduced are directly contradictory in terms of mutual exclusion. What number?
Just because they're negated.
No. Because produced, take the horns of a rabbit, it follows the valid cognizer that realizes them to be not produced, implicitly establishes them as unproduced, because that's a predicate, because produced and unproduced are directly contradictory in terms of mutual exclusion.
Just because they're directly contradictory doesn't mean valid cognizer which
Negates one has to establish the other. What is the meaning of being directly contradictory?
If one is established, the other is negated.
Right. And if one is negated, the other is established, it doesn't mean that?
I think no.
Huh? If one is established, the other is negated?
Yes, that's
Yeah?
that's the definition.
That's the definition. If one is negated, the other doesn't have to be established?
Yes.
Except, so take the horns of a rabbit, it follows they are established to be unproduced. It follows they are unproduced.
Established to be unproduced. No.
So it follows they're not established to be unproduced. It follows they're negated to be unproduced. Take the valid cognizer that negates them to be unproduced. What does it negate? Unproduced. Unproduced. It follows it negates that they're unproduced.
It negates them.
What does it negate? What does it negate? It follows it negates that they've arisen from causes. It follows it realizes that they are unproduced. It follows it realizes they are unproduced. It follows they are unproduced. It follows they're permanent.
Not because they are.
I haven't given a reason yet. It follows they're permanent
Why?
because they're unproduced.
Reason not established.
So it follows they're not unproduced.
Not because, okay.
Are they unproduced?
They are, okay, except.
It follows they're permanent. Horns of a rabbit.
Okay, pause the definition of.
What is? Take horns of a rabbit. No. Take horns of a rabbit. It follows they're permanent
Why?
because they're unproduced. Answer the question, please. Take the horns of a rabbit. It follows they're permanent because they are unproduced. It follows they're permanent. It follows they are both a phenomenon and not momentary because they're permanent. It follows they are permanent because they are unproduced. It follows they're not unproduced. It follows they are unproduced because they are not arisen. Take that, it is not arisen. It follows it is not the definition of unproduced. What is it? Follows it is the definition of unproduced because it's the intention of the very venerable and kind teacher of all of us. Where does it say? Where does it say? Where does it say? What is the definition of unproduced phenomenon? What read? Don't make your own definitions up. What's the definition of unproduced phenomenon? Take the horns of a rabbit. It follows they are that which is not arisen. Sa. It follows they are unproduced. Sa. It follows they are permanent. Sa. It follows they exist. Huh? So, what is it? Anyways, carry on. What are the divisions of functional thing? Matter, consciousness, non-associated, formative factor. What is the definition of matter? That which is atomically established. Okay. Take your dreams. It follows they're atomically established. Huh? Take what you dream of at night. It follows it is atomically established. Take what you dream of at night. It is atomically established. So if you're getting chased by someone on a horse and you get shot with an arrow, take the arrow of your dreams. It follows it is atomically established. Because it is matter. It follows it is not matter. It follows it is matter. Take that arrow that you dream of at night. It follows it is matter. It follows it pierces your heart when it hits you. It follows it's not matter. It follows it is atomically established. It follows it atomically established. So it's made of things. Right? So when it hits your chest, something hit your chest. No? It follows it's not atomically established. Follows it is atomically established. Follows those atoms of your dream arrow hit your chest. They don't hit your chest. To the arrows, they hit your dream chest. Okay. Okay, what are the divisions of matter? External, internal, mental, and primary elements from which the others arise. Take mental object form. It follows it arises from the primary elements. It follows it as a derivative of the primary elements. Take that dream arrow. It follows it as a derivative of the primary elements. It follows it as hard and obstructive. It follows it's not hard and obstructive. It follows it's not derived from the earth element. It's not. It follows it is not derived from the primary. It's hot then. What is it? It's hot, it's light, it's hard, or it's wet. What is this dream arrow? What is it? It's light and moving. It follows it's not derived from the four elements because it's only derived from the wind element. It's not derived from the four elements. It follows it is derived from the four elements. It has a component of being hard and obstructive. Except it follows it is hard. So when it hits you in the dream, it follows you feel it. You do? No, your chest. Your chest feels it when it hits you on the chest? No, does it hit your chest? Take a dream arrow, it follows, doesn't hit your chest. Take a dream arrow, it follows, it doesn't perform a function. What does it do? Okay, take the horns of a rabbit, it follows their mental object form. Take the horns of a rabbit, it follows their matter. What are the divisions of outer material form? Visual, smells, taste, sound, and tactility base. What are the divisions of sound? Sound arisen from the elements conjoined with consciousness, sound arisen from the elements not conjoined with consciousness. What are the divisions? Pleasant with meaning, pleasant without meaning, unpleasant with meaning, unpleasant without meaning. Same with the other ones. Okay, done. Sound today done. What are the other ways of talking about ascertainable objects?
Can I ask a question?
No, not yet. What are the divisions of ascertainable object? Definition, definiendum, one different, generality instance, contradictory and related, right? Reverse and not reverse, you can also say. Okay, reverse and not reverse. So we got 5. What is the definition of one? Phenomena that are not diverse. What is the definition of different? What are the terminological divisions of one? One isolate, one entity, substantially one, coexisting substantially one, indifferentiable coexisting substantially one substantial type. Right? Okay? What is the definition of one entity? Phenomena without separable essential natures. And one substantial entity? Phenomena that arise without separable essential natures. That's the main difference, right? Okay, what is the definition of definition? That which possesses the 3 qualities of a referent existent. Definiendum? Of an imputed existent. Great. What is the definition of contradictory? Distinct phenomena with no possible common locus between them. What are the divisions of contradictory? Contradictory through mutual exclusion, contradictory through incompatibility. What is the definition of contradictory through incompatibility? Abiding inharmoniously in a manner where one opposes a continuum of the other, and contradictory through mutual exclusion excludes the other. Then these are divided into direct and indirect, right? Both of them? Fine. What is the definition of related? One sec, let's do it clearer though. What's the definition of related to pot? And if pot does not exist, it necessarily entails that it does not exist. What are the divisions of related? Causally related and intrinsically. What's the definition of causally related to pot? It is different from pot while being it is different from pot while no, it is just intrinsic. It is different entity from pot. It is related to pot while being intrinsically different from pot, and then it necessarily does not. And being intrinsically related to pot, it is different from pot while being intrinsically one with pot, and if pot does not exist, it would necessarily entail it does not exist. Yeah? Okay. In the absence of pot necessarily entails that it would not exist. Okay? Yeah, done. Tell me, Mark, what is it?
Forgot.
We said, no? Yeah. We've said. Pendro, how many notes have you taken? Now where is the notes ka benefit? I've said it like at least 5 times. I think we spent a good 15 minutes on it. What is this intrinsically one? What have we said intrinsically one is? One entity. One nature, one entity. Essential nature was what so essential nature you all need to still come up with your own understanding which will fit with the text, right? There's one thing I wanted to check with you today. I'd asked you last week to tell me if you had done the relation between causally related and functional thing. I want to know what you've come up with just to understand. 3? Is that like unanimous? 4? Huh? You had 4? Yeah? What was it? Just this is slightly important, that's what I'm just saying. What was it? What did you come up with? Kayla? Kai? Venerable? 3? What did you come up with? Do you remember what you came up with? if two things are causally related, do they have to be functional things?
4.
4, you came up with 4. Okay. 3. Most of your 3s, let me hear some 4s. What did you say is something that is causally related but not functional thing?
The emptiness of sprout risen from seed.
And the emptiness of seed, for example. 2 things, right? Give me an example of 2 things that are causally related but are not.
But don't I'm just saying that emptiness of sprout is the thing that's related. So
To what?
to seed.
So the emptiness of sprout is causally related to the seed, but it is not a functional thing. Yeah. How does that work for you? It's interesting. As I wanted to check. Take emptiness of sprout. Can we just take, for Duda's sake, can we take 1 with sprout just to make it easier? Do you mind? Yeah? Okay. Take 1 with sprout. It follows it is related to seed. It does, right? So let's make sense of it. That's why I just want to test this once to at least tell you what the text says. Then, of course, you're free to do what you want. Everything that is generally not written in the text, you are free to have your own position. There's absolutely no problem. Okay? What is in the text, we have to follow as a guideline. Then other things are opinions of various people. Like Gen's opinion of one entity was where it has one substantial cause. You don't have to accept that when you're answering your debate to come up with your own idea, right? Remember what Gen said the other night? So similarly, our text, nowhere does it say that for something to be causally related, it has to be a functional thing. That's why what Mark is saying and what I'm assuming Jason was thinking and what Anastasia is stretching right now to say, I don't know, you're allowed to say that. I just make that clear. Nothing prevents you from saying that. But I just want to tell you what the other text says in terms of how it's reasoning, okay? Then you are free to make your own conclusion. But before we do that, Anastasia, what were you saying?
I mean, the definition doesn't say so, but the meaning, how it is elaborated after that in the book, it's like the Rice Seedling Sutra states, when they're rising up with the rising.
Yes.
So it's kind of...
But that is an explanation of causally related. When you look strictly at the definition, it still has to make sense, right? So let's do what Mark said. Take 1 with sprout. It follows it is causally related to seed. Let's just try and see what happens. Except it follows it fulfills the definition of being causally related to seed. What is the definition of being causally related to seed? Huh? It is a different entity from seed, and if seed, it is related. Tell me the definition of related to, causally related to seed. It is related to seed while being a different entity from seed, and if seed doesn't exist, it necessarily does not exist. So, let's do it. Take 1 with sprout, it follows it is related to seed. It follows it fulfills the definition of being related to seed. It follows it is different from seed, and if seed did not exist, it would necessarily entail that 1 with sprout would not exist. Right? That's the first part. Then it follows it is, take 1 with sprout. It follows it is a different entity from seed. Huh? Except it follows it is a phenomenon with a separable nature from seed. Seems to make sense? Now, if sprout does not exist, if seed does not exist, necessarily 1 with sprout will not exist. So technically, if you're looking at the definition the way we've just seen it, you may well have that. This morning I was thinking, I wanted to come up with 1 with seed and 1 with sprout. You can even take 2 permanent things and do the same thing to that, right? Okay? Perfect. Okay? Now, the text says, however, not our text, again, another text, the Buddha text says, if they are causally related, they have to be functional things. Anastasia, which is based on that reasoning over there. Now, you have to try and make sense of whichever one works for you. I have nothing to say that this is right, that is wrong. It's entirely up to you. I just want to share one thing with you and then we'll move forward. Yeah, Henry?
I think you could defend that it's not related, causally related.
Even with the definition, no?
Even with the definition.
So which part of the definition wouldn't it
It's not
fulfill?
related, they're not related.
It follows it is related. It follows one with sprout is related to seed because it is different from seed. And if seed does not exist, it would necessarily entail that one with sprout would not exist.
Definition of related.
Huh?
In the absence of seed.
In the absence of seed, it would necessarily entail that sprout would not exist.
So that doesn't fulfill the necessary entail.
So, Mark, if you want to work on it and you want to prove that it is not causally related, like Henrik is saying, you can work on that necessary entailment.
Okay.
Yeah? If you want to, huh? Now you stay with it. Okay? Yeah.
So if something is related, it is either intrinsically related or causally.
Yeah, so for Buddhists, 100%. There's no third option. Yeah, there's absolutely no third option. If there was a third option, then the entire Tariq edifice will just collapse, which is what we're going to do next. Okay? Yeah.
What was it again?
If something is related, it has to be intrinsically related or causally related. According to Buddhist texts, there's no third option. There's no other way of being related. So me and my sister technically are not related. I mean, according to these definitions, yeah.
What is the absurd consequence of having another religion? What is why are these Islam's especially against, for example?
Because whatever other explanation you give, eventually it'll boil down to one of these. It's not like you can come up and imagine all your other ones, but they'll all be subsumed within these two. That's why.
It's been argued out.
Oh God, yeah. You'll be doing it. You'll be doing it soon. Right.
So it was actually just like one with functional thing which comes up as.
I mean, no, technically Mark has said emptiness is proud, but he could have said one with sprout. You can say many things. You can say many things. You can actually say a lot of different things. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah?
I got kind of like, I guess, technically confused. So, with the causally related, for example, I said I said that occasional space inside a pot.
Uh-huh. And the pot. Yeah? Yeah? That also is fine.
But then pot is a functional thing.
So then what you've taken is one functional thing and one permanent thing, right? And if you've taken those two as your base, then you can lead to that ambiguity. If you did what Mark did, which was you just take the space inside a pot and you say it is causally related to pot, so then you're only focused on one subject, right? But if you want to take two permanent phenomena, then you can do what I was trying to do earlier, which was you can take one with pot and then the occasional space inside the pot, right? To take two permanent phenomena. So you can work on that as well, yeah? So I saw a lot of hands up, yeah. Yeah.
So in this case, your parents are the cause of you and your sister or not?
Yeah, so I am causally related to my parents. My sister is causally related to my parents, but my sister and me are not related because we are not one entity, so we cannot be intrinsically related, and we are not cause and effect. We're not causally related because my sister or me are neither the effect or the cause of each other. So that's technically not related. Yeah. If at all, they would be something like same substantial type, but even that is open to checking, right? Yeah.
Like at this point, I find it tricky. Like I agree that it fulfills the definition, but I don't agree it fulfills the meaning of the definition.
So then, yeah.
How do I? We had another debate that was kind of similar with if there was no consciousness, would there be like the definition of existence?
Right. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah.
That's a really fun one, no?
But what does one do?
Yeah, that's a really fun one. So no, what? Okay, sorry, I was just thinking about something else. I got sidetracked. There's a very nice quotation in one of Lama Tsongkhapa's texts where he says, understand, you know how in Madhyamaka they talk about imputation, everything is imputed by the mind, right? He says, saying that for it to exist, it has to be an object of a valid cognizer, even though it seems to have a connotation of relying on consciousness, for it to exist, is very different from the understanding of it being imputed. So for it to exist, consciousness doesn't have to exist. Right? For it to exist, it has to be something that is verifiable by a valid cognizer. That's all it means in the Dudra setting. So when something exists or not, it is not contingent on it being observed by a valid cognizer. It just means it has to possess that quality of being observable by a valid cognizer. So that tree in a forest, if no one hears it, does it that one? There's no real contradiction in saying it isn't existent, there's no valid cognizer that observes it.
But like so at this point when then the debate goes to the definition of individual words in
Yes.
the definition.
Yes, exactly. So then you have to start qualifying the individual words. So if you're saying that a cursory reading of the definition suggests to you that it should fulfill the definition, but it doesn't fulfill the meaning for you, then you can try and fit your meaning into one of the words of the definition. So like Hendrik said, the necessarily entails, you can make it fit over there. Yeah? Okay? Like we did, like for instance, we did this one with generality, a phenomenon that encompasses its specific distinctions, right? Product, is it a distinction of impermanent? Earlier we had said instance of impermanent. So when you're just looking at it like that, it's not clear. So then you have to say, no, distinction means that it has those three qualities. So you can take the meaning of the three properties required to be an instance and fit it in there, like that. So you're going to have to start making sense of it like that. Yeah? But that's the next step. When you have long definition, in fact in Tariq that's the main thing. You have a long definition, you need to be able to qualify each component of the definition. Yeah.
And then what happens when you and your partner don't agree on that?
Then it's beautiful. So right now you don't have much to go on. Okay? But what will happen later, which is the important part, is when you will be studying the texts, which is very soon now, when you start studying the texts, whose explanation or whose understanding mirrors closer the understanding of the author? Because right now we're in the phase of learning the rules. Then we're going to learn those rules and apply them to the text. So which understanding of the two people is closer to the author's view? To derive the meaning of the Shastras first. So Shastras are commentaries. Then eventually the Buddha's words, but then finally, which one is closer to a reflection of how it is? So at some point when you go beyond just trying to derive the meaning from the text, then it is how does it translate, or how does it which best explains your experience of the world? So that eventually is the final goal. So there's like a gradual ladder. The ladder is you learn the rules and you come to these points where just by definition, technically both could be okay. So you're like, which one is more accurate? Then you go to the texts. Which one reads closer to the author's intention? And then which author's intention reads closest to your experience of the world? Is it a Madhyamaka author? Is it a Chittamatra author? Is it a Svatantrika author? Is it a Sautantrika author? Is it maybe a non-Buddhist author? So your reasoning eventually has to reach there. Which is really intriguing because when I was studying at IBD, we're reading one author, right? And so we're trying to see who can best understand the author that we're reading. And when I finished IBD, suddenly I didn't have anyone who believed in the same author. So I didn't have any, I was just with the text, and if I was talking to someone, they'd be like, why the hell are you explaining that author? Who cares? I want to know how it really is. And so I've had to rework a lot of the explanations from not just trying to best explain one author's views, but to best explain my understanding of how it really is. But that's the next step, right? Eventually you have to go in that direction.
So there is an element of subjectivity then that...
No. This, please don't go in that direction. Everything doesn't ever happen. There's a refinement of your reasoning. It's what you apply your reasoning to that changes. It doesn't mean that after all of this extremely elaborate world, everything is subjective. I mean, that would be no. Okay? And you had your hand up. Jason.
Yeah, it's more of a debate question.
Okay, then we'll hold on to the debate question, yeah? Just one thing. So today we're doing negative and positive phenomena. Just before we start, just one thing. Just so that you understand how Buddhists envision permanent phenomena, okay? So there's one quote that we use a lot, and I think it's from Nagarjuna's Fundamental Wisdom, for permanent phenomenon, and it says something along the lines of it says, if conditioned phenomena did not exist, how would unconditioned phenomena exist? Okay? What this means is, Buddhists don't envision permanent phenomena like separate entities floating around by themselves. Yeah? Permanent phenomena are always going to be tied down to some impermanent phenomena. So whenever you're saying this is a permanent phenomena, it is going to have as its base some product or some functional thing. And the permanent part of it is going to be just the individual isolated aspect. So what will be the permanent part of pot? One with pot, one with impermanent, one with product, one with shape, one with matter. All of these are permanent. You will not have emptiness as some sort of floating around general entity that you get to by getting rid of everything, by getting rid of the conventional truth, and then you have some sort of unrelated, unconnected, separate space of the ultimate. It doesn't work like that. So whether it's product or permanent, it always has to be tied down to some sort of functional thing. It has to have a base. The base of unproduced phenomena or uncompounded phenomena is always going to be functional things. Why is this especially important? Because then when we study Indian texts, they never speak of permanent things. Whereas in Tibetan literature, there's an abundance of examples of permanent phenomena like one with pot, definition, definiendum, established base. All of these things that we are calling permanent, you don't find them mentioned in such detail in Indian texts. But in the Tibetan literature, you take it for granted. Now, it's not that they're wrong. Okay? It's that they have refined and further developed the views that were already there in Indian texts. So it's not a Tibetan invention by any means. What, however, it means is that the Indian texts are primarily concerned with what we experience in our everyday life. And so it's the functional things that matter more to us. If you're hungry, you're not satisfied fantasizing about food, right? You need to go and get food. So it is the actual things that matter in terms of what is to be abandoned and what is to be cultivated that the Indian texts focus on. So you won't find so much discussion of permanent phenomena. But this is important because, like Mark said, emptiness of sprout is not floating around. It's a quality of sprout. So if seed does not exist, sprout cannot exist. If sprout cannot exist, all of its attributes and qualities and things cannot exist. So why is it not causally related? That's a legitimate concern. Okay? So permanent phenomena are not envisioned as separate entities. Please remember this. The idea that there are things that are permanent is the view of the non-Buddhists. That's what they take to task. Okay? Yeah?
Did you say so the permanent phenomenon is an isolate of its base?
Of some attribute. It will always be of some attribute. Yeah?
It's a conceptual isolate?
Yes, always. Always.
Of its base.
Yes. So now let's do that, and then with that we can start with this negative and positive phenomenon. The famous example of uncompounded space. What is it, right? So this is compounded space. Remember this, what was it? Milky substance that you see. What was it? What? Whitish vacuity, right, that. Whitish vacuity that you see with your eyes. That's compounded space. It's compounded because it's created by causes. Okay? My hands had made less space, now there's no space, blah, 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 blah. The uncompounded space is just that isolate or that phenomenon that is the mere absence of obstruction. So this space that you're seeing is produced, it is impermanent, it is functional thing, it is a cause, it is an effect, it does stuff. Of all of these things that it does, it also, what is it? It is also not obstructive. When I isolate that quality of it not being obstructive, that's why it says the mere absence of obstruction. When you say mere absence of obstruction, you are just talking about a single aspect of it. That mere absence of obstruction is what is uncompounded space. So now, from now on, when you read uncompounded space in the texts, it's the mere absence of obstruction. So technically, uncompounded space is a non-affirming negative, which we're going to do. Okay? Yeah? Okay?
So there's unconfounded space in this room.
Yeah, between us. So if I wanted to hurt you, I could throw a cup at you because nothing's going to obstruct it. Uncompounded space can't perform a function because it's permanent.
Okay, but it allows for the movement of the thing that.
That's the compounded space. Now that's where it gets tricky. So let's do. I'm so glad you're stuck. Let's do negative and positive phenomena, and then when you start doing isolates, then finally the Buddhist way of thinking about permanent things starts to get clearer. It's not at all the way we feel right now. Okay? Oh wait.
This afternoon is when we can quote Tibeji.
Quote Tibeji, what do you mean?
Means
Oh, like quote Tibeji. Is that how you say it? Quote Tibeji? In English you say, yeah? Yeah, sure, you can.
Can you answer my question?
Yeah, tell me.
No, I said this afternoon.
Yeah, of course. My afternoon is where I come in and
Okay.
sacrifice myself to you.
I didn't understand.
Huh?
If I want to bring up doubt in terms of my within a debate.
Absolutely, please, yeah. Have.
Then the other 9 people are doing something.
Huh?
The other 9 people, they were never established those people.
They will be established, those people. Do you want to do it?
I already tried.
I know you tried, right? Yeah. We have those other 9 people, but pretending they don't exist. I'm also pretending they don't exist because I'm assuming maybe those 9 people are feeling comfortable. But technically, would you like to practice your debate in the afternoon? You would like to? Good.
The same we did this week with the first 9 possible.
Yeah, so now the remaining 9. You already did it, no?
I wanted to do it.
Okay. Okay, now today you're first. Martin, today you be first. Does anyone want to try? Don't make me compel you like I'm your teacher. Huh? Technically, but everyone's being very elusive and not wanting to do it. You'll do it? Okay. Yes, to me. You'll do it?
Yes,
You did it last time.
I know, but let's say it was a
One sec.
non-result.
Non-result. Does anyone else want to try? Annette, you want to try? Ben, would you want to try? Huh? Yeah. I'm picking people. Jay, you did it last time? No. Do you want to try? Okay. Ben, would you want to try? Huh? Tomorrow? Okay, not really. Fine. Let's do one more. Puja, done. 5. Okay.
But it doesn't have to be very complicated.
No, just start. Don't worry. See, the present, so 179. The presentation on negation and of affirmation is closely related to grasping the theory of Anya Apoha. Anya Poha, yeah? Or Apoha, which is this big. It's like the most discussed thing in Buddhist epistemology. It's also funny because His Holiness said this once. He said, the Buddhists have given their answer and then the other non-Buddhists have counteracted it. So if you read later, did you know this? All the other Indian scholars who came after Dharmakirti, especially like in the 10th, 11th century, they've written extensive critiques of this. So Dharmakirti came up with this, people were like, rubbish. And they've refuted it like extensively. So I remember His Holiness, Dad told me once that His Holiness said, they've replied to our positions. When are we going to now as Buddhists consider those and try and give a reply? Because there was an ongoing discussion, right? Dignaga came at a moment when certain schools were there, then his ideas were developed by Dharmakirti, then they were developed later by Shantarakshita Kamala Shila, in a dialogue. So in Kashmir in like the 11th, 12th century, there's many Vedanta scholars and others who completely refuted Dharmakirti's view of apoha. That doesn't mean we're studying an outdated idea. I just want to tell you that. It means we're studying an idea that needs to be understood really well. It's not as obvious as it seems. Yeah?
So maybe they haven't completely refuted it?
We'd have to read them. To be really honest about it, you would have to read those texts, see what they say, and see if they've got the point or not.
Are they translated?
Actually, some of them are, yeah. So if you read scholars, a lot of them are these Kashmiri Shaivite scholars. And some of them are also, who are also, I don't know if they're from Vedanta. But there are others, there's one big text that goes through an entire refutation of all the Hindu schools, then all the Buddhist schools, and then establishes their own position. And in them, they take to task, there's an article, there's a non-Buddhist scholar called Kumarila. He's negated Dharmakirti a lot. There's a lot of literature on this, in English also. But first, understand Dharmakirti well, see if you've understood and it makes sense to you, and then read a critique. Yeah? But it's just an interesting thing to observe, because nowadays with the amount of information that's there, to live in isolation in Tibet, they say it's like a frog in a well. Don't be like a frog in a well, be like a frog in the ocean. Otherwise, you kind of like this is how it is, everything is fine, we don't want to know anything. Oh no, you are saying it's different, we don't want to talk about it. That's not the attitude, right? So just be aware that there's a lot of other ideas also. So if you want to understand the Buddhist idea well, you can't say, because Dharmakirti says. That's not something that you can eventually rely on. You have to first rely on that to get your understanding, and then you have to be able to try and prove that it is how it is. Yeah? And also, in all fairness, we only do the first, I think, 80 odd verses of the first chapter. So this year I think we're going to be doing 58. Then there's another 30 more. And then there's the remaining section of the first chapter that for some reason we don't study very much. Which is where Dharmakirti is replying to the objections already at his time to this theory of apoha. So it's a very controversial, it's a hotly debated topic in Indian philosophy.
So
Yeah.
that apoha will find the link with the horns of the rabbit?
Wow. You want to link with the horns of a rabbit?
Well, I'm still.
You still think they exist?
No.
Then?
No, but in the debate, to say within the debate we had, I was thinking.
Right, yeah, you will get horns of a rabbit. This will help. The apoha thing helps. The apoha thing helps with everything. It's one of the most beautiful things. And a lot of Western linguists also like the apoha theory a lot. Because linguistics is studied in India as well, but with a lot of linguistic studies that are done now in the modern world, the apoha theory is also a theory of linguistics. So it's a very important aspect of Buddhist reasoning, okay? Which we're not doing right now in great detail, so please don't have your hopes up. Right now you're still doing the baby version of it. So the presentation on negation and affirmation is closely related to grasping the theory of Anyapoha or apoha, which is essential for understanding the nature of reality as well as how the mind engages in reality. So you can see it's relevant, right? Okay. Also, when one engages in negation and affirmation, it becomes crucial to recognize the scope of negation through logical reasoning. In all such matters, understanding of the nature of negation and affirmation remains of vital importance.
I'm just curious that Anyapoha says exclusion of others, apoha says only exclusion.
Yeah, so Anya is of other. Apoha is exclusion. So exclusion of other will be exclusion of something else. So you can just you can also kind of, what do we say? What do we say? Abbreviate it into apoha. Anyapoha can just be abbreviated into apoha. Yeah? In general, whatever the given phenomenon, so long as it is something that has a defined identity, one must define its entity in terms of negating what it is not. Right? This said, phenomena such as a vase, a pillar, a tree, or a flower, which are objects of perception by sensory consciousness, by themselves must be posited principally as positive phenomenon. Now, however, the negation of non-vase or of non... You see why it says negation of non-vase here? This is reverse. Yeah? In the Tibetan it's reverse. It's been translated as negation. So the reverse of non-vase. Non-vase. Just first let's read what it says, no? The negation of non-vase or of non-pillar, which is the reverse of non-vase and of non-pillar. And this is answering to your thing, Anastasia, the other day, of what is reverse by itself. Yeah? This is where it's coming up, okay? The reverse of non-vase or of non-pillar, which are defined by the elimination of the dissimilar class, since they are defined by the negation of their opposites, must be understood as forms of negation. Got it? Did you get that? So, non-vase, non-non-vase, or reverse from vase, and reverse from vase, by themselves are to be understood as negations. It's like that which is hot and burning by itself is to be understood as a definition. But it doesn't mean that everything that is hot and burning has to be a definition. Does that make sense? So when I say vase, I am saying something that is the reverse from vase, right? But when I'm saying vase, and when I'm saying reverse from non-vase or reverse from vase, even though they're pointing to the same thing, they are two different kinds of phenomena. One is a negative phenomena, one is a positive phenomena. Okay? So by themselves, they must be defined in terms of negation. That's all it's saying so far. Okay? Thus, when one states that which is not a non-vase or that which is not a non-pillar, okay, the reference is to something that is a vase or a pillar. Got it? Yeah? As the saying goes, really? Two negatives make a positive. Which saying?
Yeah.
Where have they translated this from? Wait, this sounds very English.
Say 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Or that, yeah. I'm very intrigued, sorry. I'll do it in my free time, this is my personal interest. This said, since the two, not a non-vase and not a non-pillar, are defined by the negation of non-vase and non-pillar, they themselves are forms of negation, not affirmation. Yeah? Okay?
What is the difference between the first one and the second?
Which form?
Is it non-pillar and then not pillar?
So when you're saying not pillar, it doesn't have any immediate referent. Not pillar, just by itself.
Yeah, that's fine. What is different between when they say that which is not a non-pillar?
So when you say that, so remember how we did that which is the reverse of a non-pillar. What is reverse of non-pillar? If I was, huh? It's a negative phenomenon. But give me an example of reverse from not pillar. Pillar, right? When I say not pillar without adding reverse from not pillar, or if I just say reverse from pillar, what will you give me as an example? You can give me anything that is not a pillar, right? So they are different because when you say reverse from not pillar, you immediately have a real referent. Remember we said the meaning of reverse is that it's pointing to a referent. Whereas not pillar by itself, or reverse from pillar by itself, doesn't lead to any referent. That's why reverse from pillar is a affirming negative. Whereas reverse from pillar itself doesn't affirm anything. Does it?
Doesn't it affirm everything else?
Doesn't affirm anything else. You can bring those things and examples, but it doesn't affirm anything else. If I say, I don't want to eat rice, that statement could also include, I don't want to eat anything. But I can say, I want to eat the reverse from rice. I'm still saying, and no one will say it, but if I said it, you know that I want rice. But the way you're coming to rice as an example is through a negation, right? If I say I don't want rice, you can very well, as someone who is forced to cook, say, well, you say you don't want rice, so I haven't done anything for you. You've done still the right thing. So the category of reverse from pillar can include everything that is not pillar, but it also is just, in itself, it is just negating, it's not affirming anything. Does that make sense? In itself, it's not affirming anything at all. Yeah? So then all the examples will come. Why is one a negative, affirming negative and non-affirming negative?
Well, ascertainable object, when you're looking at through valid cognition, as per the definition, you're reinforcing or imputing that it is a negative phenomenon. You're just affirming.
That's not affirming. The meaning of affirming is not that you establish something. The meaning of affirming, it says over here, is positive. So positive phenomena, affirming phenomena means, when you see the definition right now, is the way in which you conceive of them, the way in which they're known.
Definition says there's something that has defined identity in terms of negating what it is not.
Where are you seeing this?
The second, in general, whatever the given phenomenon.
Yeah.
So it's saying it's defining its identity in terms of negating what it is.
Yeah, that's a negative phenomena.
Okay.
That's a negative phenomena. A negative phenomena is defined in terms of just negating something. So the definition of negation, it comes here, just so that you see it quickly so that we don't get confused. Come to paragraph 1. Gosh. Can you just come like halfway through the page where it says first in defining negation? Can you see that? Right? Okay. So the definition of negation is a phenomenon that must be cognized. See, there's a concept of how it's cognized. Must be cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it, directly precluding its negando. It's a very technical translation. Yeah? Yeah? I don't know what the English word precluding means. What does preclude mean? So include is to bring in, preclude is to cut out. That's what it means. It's not, for not mother tongues, it's not a fun word. Yeah?
Isn't precluding is coming in?
Excluding, that's what it means. No? Yeah. It's the opposite of include. Yeah. No, not that's when prelude. That's a different that's something. Okay? Yeah.
So we have kind of three words for negation, right? Like reverse of something.
Yeah. Not
Non-pot and not pot.
and not pot.
And I'm kind of confused. They are not. So if they're mentioned once, it's kind of it's mutually inclusive.
Mutually inclusive, right?
Like reverse of pot, non-pot, and not.
Yes, they're all the same. They're all the same. Exactly, they're all the same.
But if we start multiplying and different combinations,
Odds and evens, then it becomes. But they'll all be the same. The real different one is isolative pot, which we haven't done yet.
Okay, but I thought I read somewhere that it's like non-pot and not non-pot, for example, are not the same. Or is it always the same?
That's the same.
Oh, okay.
Not, yeah, I think the non and not in English are just translations of the same thing in Tibetan. There's this not pot and non-pot are not two real things. Yeah?
Okay. But, okay, and what about the reverse of pot and not?
Those are two different things.
Okay.
So when you use the word reverse, you're using it differently from the word isolate, which we haven't done, which we're going to do right now when you do isolate, okay? So when you use the word reverse from pot, right, you are just eliminating pot. When you say isolate of pot, okay, you are just isolating pot. So there's also an action of elimination. But there's a difference in how you end up with the referent. Remember there was that one thing which was the reverse is when you're taking the negation and an instance. There was that thing. That all comes. Okay? So for now, reverse, not, non, they're all the same thing. They're always used across the board equally. Okay? So we're coming back to the above thing because we haven't finished. Similarly, in the case of the absence of a vase, except for defining it in terms of the negation of its opposite, no identity can be posited by way of its essential nature. Got it, Maya? When you say absence of vase, what attribute are you giving to it? Every attribute that you give to it is via negation. There's no positive attribute that you can give to not vase. Right? To give a complete understanding. A pillar is not a vase, but understanding a pillar doesn't bring you to the understanding of not vase. So non-vase by itself is a phenomenon that is solely a negation. Yeah? Whereas not vase doesn't have to be solely a negation because it does bring to mind a positive attribute. Yeah?
So what about absence of vase?
Absence of vase is, yeah, it's another way of saying not vase, right? So that's the word emptiness, which I think Alex Berzin prefers voidness, right? I don't know, I can't really tell the difference, I must confess. I read the article, but if it helps you, just read it. But emptiness or voidness, or whatever word you say, that's why it's a non-affirming negation. Because when you say it is not objectively existent, or there is no self, there's no positive quality that you bring into mind. Does that make sense? There's none. Nothing. You're just saying it's not that. Right? So that's the reason that you talk about negation. But now the thing is, these are not arbitrary phenomena that you've made up. Apparently there's real things like this. Like these are real phenomena, not functional things. These are real phenomena. But these phenomena need to be cognized via negations. That's the point. Okay? Yeah? So what is the relation between a negative phenomena and a positive phenomena? Straight off the bat. Mutually exclusive? Yeah? Take negative phenomena and positive phenomena. It follows they are not mutually exclusive because there's something that's both. It follows there is something that's both because reverse from pot is both. Huh?
Why?
Take reverse from pot. It follows it is a negative phenomena. It follows it is a positive phenomena. Take reverse from pot. It follows it is not a positive phenomena. It follows it is a positive phenomena because it is pot. Because it is pot. Nice. Who said no provision? Nice. Huh. What no provision?
Just because it's a race, it doesn't follow that it is
Positive phenomena. Yeah. That's one possible way to go. Okay? Let's see. There's a little bit of an insulting example that comes up later. Have you heard of it? You've heard of it, no? It talks about child obesity. Fat Devadatta doesn't have lunch. This is the example. Right? Or there is another very nice example that I don't know if it's in the text, but we use it quite frequently. We say, a field without a mountain. Take a field without a mountain. It follows it as a positive phenomena. Take a field without a mountain. It's a positive phenomena. It follows it's not a positive phenomena because it's a negative phenomena. It's a negative phenomenon because it fulfills the definition of negation. It fulfills the definition of negation because it is a phenomenon that must be cognized by the mind directly, that comprehends it, directly precluding its negation. It follows to comprehend or to cognize a field without a mountain, it doesn't have to be cognized by the negation of a mountain. It follows it does have to be cognized by the negation of a mountain. Okay, now let's debate. Take a field without a mountain and a field. It follows they are one. Take a field without a mountain and a field. It follows they are one. It follows they are different. It follows they are phenomena that are diverse. It follows they are conceptually and linguistically different. It follows that the way a field appears to the conceptual mind and the way a field appears with a field without a mountain appears are different. How does a field without a mountain appear differently from just a field?
You have to think that there is no.
So it follows a field without a mountain has to appear via a negation. It follows it is a negative phenomenon. That's the point. Okay? So I can say pot and you just think pot. That's a positive phenomenon. I can say a pot that is not a unicorn and that is a pot. It's not a unicorn, but a pot that is not a unicorn has to be perceived via negation.
Isn't it part of the perception without a negation and part of it with a negation?
So that's the part of it with the negation becomes an affirming negative. And the part of it without a negation becomes a non-affirming negative, which is just coming.
But you can... Okay, I'll leave it.
Yeah?
So basically, if it includes anything that it's like absent, without, non,
Yes,
blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah.
then it's a negation. It's
Correct. Yeah.
Elephant in the room kind of thing?
oh no, not.
Elephant in the room is a non-existent.
Yeah,
This room without an elephant, that is a negative phenomenon. It's not the word, it's the way it appears, you understand? Because the thing is, what I want you to also start noticing is, if we start saying it's the word or the concept, then you start eliminating it being a phenomenon. It's like it's your opinion of things. It's not like that. What is being said is, here in the world in which we live, there's two kinds of things. There's things that need to be cognized without negations, and there's things that need to be cognized with negations. It's not your own whimsical fantasy that makes certain things appear now and then as negations. The things themselves are negations. That's an important thing to pay attention to, because otherwise emptiness becomes like, oh, you just made it up.
But the way we're able to communicate
Is through words. Right. The communication has to arise through words, but the phenomenon is a real phenomenon.
But that's hard to grasp.
It's very hard to, it's extremely hard to grasp. That's why negative phenomena are extremely slippery. But the proof that it's slippery, I don't remember where I read this. But I remember again and again, even hearing it when we were in school, if you think that it's easy to understand negative phenomena, whatever you consider to be your understanding of emptiness or selflessness or whatever it is, do it. And tell me, how often do you not have the appearance of anything? So when you're doing selflessness of person, do you ever have the aggregates that appear? If you're doing the emptiness of a pot, do you ever see a pot? So if you're thinking of negative phenomena, it's so natural that images creep in, that just even understanding negative phenomena, even as a concept, is incredibly hard. Because if I say not pot, what appears to you? First pot will appear, which is clearly not the right thing, right? But then how easy is for you to stay on not pot as an appearance, understand it, and not have things like trees, pillars, dogs creep in. Kind of like Maya's point before, but aren't also all these things not pillar, right? So negative phenomena are really slippery. They're really, really slippery. That's why again and again you'll find, if when you're practicing, when you're like cultivating a view of emptiness, even if you've understood it, very quickly the thing creeps in apparently. So it's hard to get it, and then stay with it is even harder. It's very slippery. Yeah? Okay.
But the conclusion is, for affirming you need to negate something. That's where I'm saying.
No, why do you need to negate something to affirm? Pot. What have you negated?
Nothing happening.
Affirming negative, you have to get it.
No, but affirming.
Affirm.
Yeah.
If part of how we establish it, you directly exclude non-pot.
Directly exclude non-pot? When you establish it, you directly exclude non-pot, except.
It follows it's a negative phenomenon.
Why?
Because you directly exclude
No position. What's the definition of... What's the definition? Now, remember this definition. Do you... Precluding its negandum. How ugly is this for you?
Okay, Negandum's kind of cool.
Negandum's cool, right? Negandum sounds like we're doing something latity and nice, right? Plus in Tariq we do negandum.
I had to look up it.
Preclude, you had to look it up?
Oh, yeah,
You have?
I had this question. Take mental image form that is imagined. It follows, it abides inharmoniously in a manner that acts to oppose the continuity of the moment preceding calm abiding. I try to.
That's so beautiful. Say that again.
I stretch it.
Say it again, say it again.
I stretch
Say it again.
I know.
Say it again. I didn't hear.
Take mental image form that is imagined, that is. Now I would have to add a part of the description of the negation, but that is imagined or cognized. It follows, it abides inharmoniously in a manner that acts to oppose the continuity of the moment preceding calm abiding.
Why? Give a reason.
Because it precludes the it opposes the calm, abiding.
But that's your predicate. You're just giving the same thing in different words. You start learning this. When the reason that you give is the same as the predicate, we say stop making chapatis. Do you know what this means? If the reason is the same thing as the predicate, but you just use a different word, or you just use a different explanation, it's like you flip the chapati this way, then you say the same thing, you just say another word and you flip it that way. So if you keep giving synonyms, it's like you're just flipping the same thing. You're going there and you're coming back, and you're going there and you're coming back. So that doesn't help.
Okay.
The reason has to be something that is adding meaning. Otherwise, it's like, then you'll speak, I don't know, someone who's multilingual, speaks 15 languages, they can go through an entire debate session by just saying different words, right? So,
Okay. I'll
yeah, so don't flip chapatis. Come up with come up with a reason,
Okay.
and then you can see it, yeah?
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. One sec.
Wait, I do not understand this definition.
The flipping chapatis?
A phenomenon that is not comprehended by the mind that directly.
A phenomenon that must be cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it. What is that? First, we have to get into the detail of it, right? So now you have the definition. The definition of a negative phenomenon is a phenomenon that must be cognized by a mind that directly comprehends it. What does directly comprehend mean? This is technical language. Directly comprehend means comprehend with an appearance. Indirectly comprehend means comprehend without an appearance. Okay? So when I comprehend pot, what directly is known by the mind that comprehends pot is pot. What is indirectly known is reverse from pot. Got it? Yeah? I'll give you an example. You know that gong outside? 15 minutes before class every day, they play the gong. The gong is hit. When you hear the sound of the gong, your ear consciousness directly perceives the sound of a gong. But if you go outside and someone asks you, hey, did they ring the gong? You'll say yes. The fact that you can say yes means that you have eliminated that they have not rung the gong. So the same consciousness that hears the sound of a gong directly, indirectly knows the reverse from sound of a gong. Directly comprehend, indirectly comprehend means via appearance, without appearance, just that. Okay? Got it? So it has to be a direct comprehension. A mind that is perceiving that phenomena directly has to perceive that phenomena by precluding its object of negation. So when I say not pot, the mind that directly comprehends not pot has to cognize or know not pot by excluding its object of negation. What is object of negation here? Pot. By eliminating pot, it has to know not pot. So it directly knows its object via negation. That's what it means.
So every moment of negation comes after an affirmation.
To know it, yeah. You have to know the object of negation before you can negate it, of course. Of course. But not after. When you directly know a negative phenomenon, yes. But when you know phenomena, like right now you're seeing me and you're seeing this throne, your eye consciousness is indirectly knowing reverse from throne, reverse from whatever it's perceiving. Because the proof is in the pudding, in the sense that later on when you're asked, you can reply accurately. So the cognition or the knowledge was precedingly there. One was direct, one was indirect. Yeah?
So negating the appearances, is that the point?
No. You're not negating appearances. The appearance is through the negation of something.
Okay.
Yeah? If an appearance has to arise through the negation of something, that is a negative phenomenon. Yeah? Clear?
So two times we have directly. So one time it is about comprehending it together with an appearance, but the other one, does it have anything to do with that we first need to understand pot in order to understand non-pot or not?
So the first one is directly comprehend, direct comprehension, and this is something that you do a lot in Lorik later, is how you cognize. So there's Direct cognition and indirect cognition. Direct perception, indirect perception. Direct comprehension, indirect comprehension. This is just a question of whether it has an appearance or not. That's it. Okay? And then by directly precluding its negandum is something that you will see later how you can also sometimes indirectly preclude. So directly preclude means you negate something, period. Like you take something and you just cut it off. Yeah? Okay? That's all it means. Yeah.
So what you say that always have a negative,
That always have?
negative.
No. This with your eyes is not negative. Why is this negative?
Okay. But also, if this is appear and we know because it's appear that it is not.
So that's indirect. That's indirect knowledge. Yeah, always.
Almost everything that we see can also not be seen.
Exactly. But that's why every direct perception or every understanding is always indirectly knowing reverse from that thing.
So you say this is negative.
Yeah, but it's not negative because if it's indirect, no, Venerable. The negative or not is whether it is directly appearing through a negation.
So because it's also positive, it can be only negative.
No, it's not negative. The phenomena that you perceive directly with your senses are positive.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
I understand.
So where's the negative? What do you mean by the negative?
By knowing this object
Yeah.
and can see it,
Yeah.
it's obviously that we cannot see the object.
Later you mean?
The same time.
Not how? How can you see this? Maybe I don't understand, but can you see this mug and not see it at the same time?
We know this can be also not been there.
No, but that's not seeing it. No, that's what I'm saying. That's mental. With your eye consciousness. Yeah? Yeah?
Can you say the appearing aspect, describe that appearance again?
What do you mean?
You're saying the way that it appears, either by affirming or not affirming?
Yeah. So when you say pot,
Yeah.
there's no negation when you're thinking pot. Okay? That's why the pot is appearing not via negation. Okay? When you're thinking reverse from pot, you're still thinking pot. But the phenomenon that you're thinking, because it's coming via negation, is different. That's why pot and reverse from pot are different phenomena, right? Because the appearance of pot is not via negation. The appearance of reverse from pot is via negation. The appearance. So the mind that directly comprehends reverse from pot directly precludes its negandum. What is the negandum of reverse from pot? No. What's the negandum of reverse from pot? Reverse from pot. That's what you're negating. Right? Okay? That's what it means.
So, just take this pillar, it follows, it is cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it.
Yeah.
It follows, it must be cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it.
Must be common, yeah, okay, fine.
You accept? It follows that it is a phenomenon.
The pillar, yeah, accept.
So, it is a phenomenon that must be cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it.
Accept.
It follows, it directly precludes its negation.
Accept.
Did I write down the wrong definition?
No, you've written down the right definition, just keep
So
stringing it
follows
together.
Pillar is negation.
Why?
Because it's a phenomenon that must be cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it, directly precluding its negation.
You don't understand.
Oh, so which part of the definition does not fulfill?
The whole thing. It's not like it has to be this and this and this. The way in which it cognized must be directly precluding its negandum. It's not saying that it has to be something that precludes its negandum and it must be directly cognized, right? The comma over there is it must be cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it, and then the comma could be removed by directly precluding its negandum. Got it? It's not an addition. The way in which it has to be cognized has to be by directly precluding its negandum. So it is phenomena that are directly here. A phenomenon that must be cognized by the mind that comprehends it, directly precluding its negandum. The comma there is by directly precluding its negandum. Do you want to change the comma and just make it easier? By directly precluding its negandum? Yeah? Just do that then.
So then what? When the mind cognizes the pillar, directly comprehends it, it's directly negating non-pillar.
No, it's not. Why?
Directly precluding, so
What's your subject?
pillar.
Okay.
So take the pillar, it follows, it is a phenomena that is cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it.
Yeah.
So take not pillar.
Not pillar.
It follows it is a phenomena that must be cognized by the mind that directly comprehends pillar by directly precluding not pillar.
Why?
I'm just trying to understand.
Got it. Why? Your subject is not pillar and you're asking me whether it is directly cognized by the mind that comprehends pillar. Not pillar is not cognized directly by the mind that comprehends pillar.
No, that's why I said that directly comprehends pillar.
Yeah, but not pillar is not an object realized by a mind that directly comprehends pillar by directly negating its negandum.
It's an object of negandum.
Yeah, exactly. It's the negandum of the mind that realizes pillar.
So how do we make sense of pillar and not pillar within this
Do it.
definition?
Take not pillar. It fulfills the definition of this. Take not pillar, Archana.
Yeah.
Does it fulfill the definition of negation? Don't look there. It's not there. The definition of not pillar being a negation is not there.
Yeah, it fulfills
So,
the
what is the definition of not pillar being negation, being a negation, being a negative phenomenon? It is a phenomenon that is comprehended by it,
It is a phenomenon that is
that must be cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it by
precluding
its negandum.
by
Is it? Is there a consciousness that directly cognizes, that directly comprehends not pillar? Huh?
I think these definitions would be much better worded.
To me, the confusion is that experientially, it seems like I first think of pillar and then non-pillar.
That's true.
Yeah.
And here it's kind of first, the object of negandum is kind of after the other part of the definition, so it seems as if maybe has something temporal aspect to it, but I guess it doesn't, and that's why it's confusing, at least to me. And I feel
Yeah, but it's fine. You're doing one of the hardest things and you're confused on day one. It's natural. No, I don't think you should be worried that it's confusing right now. Also, the definition, I'm sure there might be a more eloquent English translation, but in Tibetan it's Rang She Jubida Rangi Gagja Gaju Duchushan Dupa Mithamba. No, man, Lola, Rangi Lola Namba Sharve say Gagben Namba Chendu Sharva, which is literally this. Which is, when it appears to the Rangi Lola Namba Sharve say, when it appears to the mind that perceives it, Gabin Namba Chendu Sharva, it appears with the aspect of a negation. That's the other definition. One sec, that's the other definition. In the Loseling Dudra and other Dudra texts. Our one has this, unfortunately.
But when you read the... Are you done?
Yeah.
Alright, when you read the definition of affirmation, the first part of it, until the comma, a phenomena that is not comprehended by the mind that directly comprehends it.
Okay,
Yeah.
the comment by
But you say that you have to think about pillar?
First, earlier.
No,
That's your
I think that's actually the definition, but when you first read the definition,
Can you do one thing? Let's do one just simplified, so that you can go to lunch without feeling so lost. Let's do one thing. Not pillar.
Yeah.
Think not pillar. Just think of not pillar for 1 second. I don't care whether you get the right image or not. It doesn't bother me. I don't get anything. That mind that is thinking of not pillar, that mind of yours is the one that is directly perceiving, directly comprehending not pillar.
Okay.
Does that comprehension arise by directly negating pillar? That's all it says. Okay? So, wait, I don't know, what is it? Is it? Does that mind that has the image of not pillar, does that image arise by directly negating pillar? That's all it says. So, not pillar is a negative phenomenon because it is a phenomenon that must be cognized by the mind that directly comprehends it, which is the one, whichever mind has not pillar as its object. And this not pillar becomes its object or is directly comprehended by that mind by directly precluding its negandum, which is pillar. So the mind that is perceiving directly not pillar perceives not pillar directly by directly countering, by directly precluding pillar, which is its object of negandum. That's all it's saying. That's the definition of negative phenomenon. So now do the same thing with not pot. Take not pot. It follows it as a negative phenomenon. It follows it fulfills the definition of negative phenomenon. It follows it is a phenomenon that must be cognized. What is it? By the mind that directly comprehends it by precluding its negandum. It follows there is a cognizer that directly comprehends not pot. What do you mean no? Is there a mind that directly comprehends not pot? It follows it comprehends not pot directly by eliminating or by directly precluding pot. It follows it as a negative phenomenon. That's it. Okay? Yes? Yeah. That's all it's saying. So far. Okay? So far. Now the affirmation which Mark has said, we can look at it after, but right now just go like this. So have lunch. When you're sitting down, what's for lunch today, do you know? Right? When you see lunch and you say, I don't know, this is not dosa. If you're looking at lunch and you're, okay, so just think of it like that. Whatever you have in front of you will be something. That's what it is as a positive phenomenon. Then you can think that it is not dosa, it is not pasta, it is not this, it is not that. All those nots that you're thinking will be the negative phenomenon. So you can be sitting there with your lunch and say, oh, this is rice, and you can think this is not dal. You can see the dal and you can say this is not rice. The not dal and the not rice are not appearing to your consciousness that is seeing the dal or the rice. Correct? So when you're seeing the dal and you're saying this is not rice, that's the basis on which then you are thinking not rice. So there is a mind that is eliminating rice. Now, every time you have a mind that is thinking not rice but you have rice that appears to it, that's not correct. That's how you know where you're not right. Because not rice cannot have the appearance of rice. Correct? It has to preclude rice. It has to eliminate rice. So every time you're thinking not rice and you're thinking rice, obviously you're not thinking the right thing. Correct? So if you're having an image of rice, that's not the image of not rice. The image of not rice is the absence of not rice. That's it.
What about the words not rice?
They're sound. There's a sound.
No, I can see the words.
That's also not rice. That's also not the not rice. That's also not the not rice.
But if you don't know what an N means.
So that's her thing, right? How are you going to get that? Now the tricky thing is going to be, so what you're saying right now is fine. That's not so hard. You know what the really hard part is? How does not rice appear different from not dal? Because not rice is not dal. Right? They're different.
Yes, sir.
If they're different, they have to appear conceptually different. But if the negation of dal is just the absence of dal, how is it different in the way in which it appears from the negation of rice? That's when it gets even more complicated. So start getting it clear first. Otherwise, you'll be stuck. So definitely when rice is appearing to you, that's not rice. Right? Okay? And if dal is appearing to you, that's also not the image of not rice. So struggle for a while, it's fine. I have no answer other than verbally describing it. I can tell you what it's not. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. Okay? With time and patience and debate and reflection. There's no other way. There's no other way. Yeah?